Where there's thunder, there's lightning. John Nada. The last video took a little while to put out and didn't end up being all that long, so I thought I might tell a story about something that happened here over the last couple months. Because this has kind of been one of my ways of, like I've always said, to vent, I guess, would be the best term, maybe, or to have some sort of catharsis with the different daily challenges and everything that go on. Jumping basically right into it, a few months back at the beginning of March, I had a work disagreement with a guy that he's not really my boss. He's not really a supervisor. He's more of somebody that I'm supposed to be kind of in partnership with because I kind of am an independent contractor in the function or role that I play at his site. And so we had a disagreement about the way something was handled. And so they set me down and initially I thought we were going to talk about, in the Army they had the AAR, the after action report, and you had 3 sustains and 3 improves. These are 3 things that y'all did great on. We need to do this next time, need to continue doing this, and then 3 things that we need to improve on for the next time. That being said, I get brought into the office and he's there with his, I guess you would say the second in command for him. And it just immediately becomes this criticism fest of what me and my fellow coworkers with me had done on a particular project or had done with a particular situation or whatever, which would have been fine if the criticism was coming from somebody that, had the same background and field as far as what they do for the company. And what he does and what I do couldn't be further, apart. So basically, you have this guy sitting there telling you how, you're bad at your job, not just me, but everybody that was involved. And, this is how you need to do things for the next time. Well, again, I don't work for the guy. He's not my boss. He's not a supervisor. He's just kind of there. Like he's another function in, another cog in the wheel, so to speak, just a different cog. I mean, it's supposed to be basically a team situation, but it has never been a team situation. It's always been that he tries to treat everyone as a subordinate. And when you try to treat a team member as a subordinate, you no longer have a team. And so I was just getting kind of upset about the whole situation. And I'm somebody that I really don't get all that mad very easily or too often. And so when that happened, I just calmly stood up, advised him that he was more than welcome to speak with my supervisor about his displeasure with our service, and walked out of the room, excused myself. And from then on, that's really where all the trouble started, or at least where the trouble was out in the open. And so from then on, we got these retention bonuses, and they had handed them out. Well, everybody had gotten theirs except me, and they had handed them out like 2 days before. Well, I wasn't going to say anything about it. I didn't really need the money that bad. I didn't really want to make an issue of it. I just thought it was kind of funny because I knew that he was holding that check because that was the only thing that he had over me. That was the only power he could exercise. And so that was his way of, I guess, punishing me for my insolence. And it was just kind of funny how I ended up getting the check. Was, I'm in my office. I've got the door wide open. I've never made it a secret about how I feel about things. Maybe that's a mistake on my part, but one of my buddies had called me and he asked me, "Hey, did you get the retention check yet?" And I said, "No." And we were just joking around about it. I said, well, maybe somebody's lining their pockets with it, or maybe this guy's uh, cashing it into his legal defense fund or something like that, and I was like, well, maybe they don't intend to retain me, and so that's why I didn't get one. Well, about 10 minutes later, this guy pops around the corner, hey, here's your check, and I'm thinking, oh, cool. I guess I am getting the check. And he tells me, you might want to make sure you leave your door closed, because I heard everything you said about my legal defense fund. I really appreciate that. Kind of like it was a lot. It's like if you've ever seen somebody get in an argument with their wife, and it's like I really appreciate you leaving those Lay's baked potato chips out on the counter. I'm on a diet. Really appreciate that. And then he just sashayed off, and and I'm just kind of sitting there like, okay, cool. I wasn't really trying to hide anything from you. That's why I didn't feel the need to shut the door. I thought walking out of the meeting was a pretty clear indication of how I felt about things and the situation. But I say all that to say this: it wouldn't have mattered what I did, because had I sat there and just took it, then they would have thought, well, this guy's just a doormat. He'll just do whatever. And then they would have had no respect for me, and the treatment would have been, probably worse, because they would have felt like that they could treat me badly. Whereas getting up and walking out, they might not. They're still not going to probably treat you very good, but they may be a little bit more. It may not be so out in the open, because they know that one, it would be obvious, and two, they know that you're not going to stand for it. And that's the thing about being a MGTOW, is you're going to upset a lot of people. And it's like I've said, I have never been Mr. Popularity. And usually, there's only a handful of people that are going to be Mr. Popularity. So everybody else is subservient to, Mr. Popularity and Mr. Popularity's, other popular friends. And so, you're limited anyway, and everybody's not going to be popular. Everybody's not going to be gregarious and well liked. And so it's a very small percentage of people that are going to be that way. And so more than likely, you will be the subservient to the popular person. But there is a third option, and that's the option of the outcast. And, it's debatable whether or not that's a good place to be, or whether or not that's really something. Well, I guess whether you want it or not, one of two things are going to happen. But in a lot of ways, that's what the MGTOW is. With the MGTOW, whether he's outcasted of his own volition, or he's outcasted because he refuses to play the game, and so by default he'll be outcast. And so that's the frustrating thing, is everybody walks on eggshells for this guy, and especially the people that work for him, because people have said, well, he holds a grudge. And it's just like, well, yeah, I mean, somebody that's petty holds a grudge. Somebody that has an adolescent mindset holds a grudge. They gotta get that last word in. They gotta be the one to come out on top. Because most people that have lived and grown and gotten some wisdom under their belt realize that that's not really. It's just really not worth it. I don't need that to continue on my path. An indicator of somebody that has grown and is well adjusted is their ability to let things go. And that's the thing. I never bothered the guy. I never screwed with the guy. I did. I made some jokes, at his expense, but it wasn't like. I mean, it's kind of a guy thing anyway, to kind of razz each other and this, that, and the other. And granted, I guess we weren't, because at one time we had. It's not that we were friends, but I guess there was an understanding between us, and we got along in that regard. And so, but the point is that I might not should have made jokes at his expense. But the fact of the matter is he was holding a check to be a jerk, basically. There's no doubt in my mind that that's what the case was. And again, whatever decision that I made was going to have consequences and repercussions one way or the other. And so I got to thinking about, like, because I've thought off and on over the last, well, really for a long time, but particularly over the last 2 years, I had really thought about leaving this job and moving someplace where I really want to live and where I want to be, and taking a job someplace else is similar or better. I mean, the dream would be to work for myself. The dream would be to have a company. But there's all these other things, that it's not as simple as that. I mean, a lot of people go out and start companies. A lot of people have built-in skills that they learned growing up, that kind of thing. And working for yourself is not without its own issues, but the idea that you don't have to walk on eggshells or constantly placate one person or the other, and constantly have to play this game of, well, I can, I better fluff so and so, because if I don't, they'll be mad at me, and then that'll put my job in jeopardy, and then I don't know if I'll be able to pay my bills or feed myself or this, that, and the other. The ability to make your own income and not have to really worry about a boss, a supervisor, a coworker, whatever. Just the office drama and the office politics. It has just never appealed to me, and I don't know that it appeals to anybody except for the people that benefit from it, which are the ones at the top. I'm sure it appeals to them. But I had meant to mention, switching gears here. I had meant to mention the last video and forgot, but it's interesting to me how expensive a divorce is. I've talked to a couple guys that are going through divorces or have gone through divorce, and it's just amazing to me how much money. But yet you think how cheap it really is to get married. It's like it costs almost nothing to get married and almost everything to get out of the marriage. I guess if you have one of these big extravagant weddings, but really it would take nothing more than a trip down to the JP, and you're legally married in the eyes of the law. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I guess some divorces don't maybe cost all that much if they're uncontested, but I guess that all depends on what all you end up left with. But I say all this to say this: I've got to be real honest, and I think if a lot of us were real honest with ourselves, we'd probably say the same thing. But I think that I've gotten very comfortable with where I'm at. And several years ago, I was a very motivated person and had all these interests and passions, and ended up being able to get to where I wanted to get because I worked hard and because I really really fought for what I wanted. And as you get older with a lot with a lot of things, you're not quite in the shape you want to be in. You're not quite in the position at your job you want to be in. And I think for a lot of us, the question in our minds is, we've gone our own way. Now what? What are we going to do next? We have all this newfound time, newfound resources, newfound ability. What are we going to do next? Where are we going to go next? And so that's why there is this prevalency to become comfortable and to just kind of find a place to light for a bit. But in my mind, MGTOW is and has always been about the process of continuing growth. Now, in the future, I don't know what is or isn't going to happen with this situation. We all have problems from one time or another at work, and usually they resolve themselves. But this is a reminder to me, and I hope a reminder to you, that you always have the ability, and there is always the option, to go your own way or to not go your own way. But that choice will always be yours and yours alone.